want you to imagine the following. You wake up one day and realize that everything you did to be accepted was useless. You've given your time, your words, your secrets, even your deepest fears, and yet you're still invisible to the very ones you most want to impress. That's the truth nobody wants to face. The harder you try to be remembered, the faster they forget you. And worst of all, you've been domesticated into believing that if you don't insist, if you don't chase after them, you'll lose the little you have. But let me slap you with reality. What terrifies people most is not your physical distance, it's your calculated silence. There is no louder scream than absence. And when you decide to disappear, when you leave behind a cold void in someone's routine, then, and only then, obsession begins to grow. Human pain has a common root, the fear of emptiness. Human beings despise uncertainty. And you can play with that fear. You can make it burn in anyone's mind without uttering a single word. What happens when you ignore a message? What happens when someone waits for your reaction and it never comes? Exactly. Internal noise appears. Insecurity, the suspicion that maybe you're no longer theirs, that maybe you've found something better, that they no longer have control. That's when the storm breaks loose in their thoughts. And believe me, there is no harsher prison than the mind imagining scenarios you never confirm nor deny. Your silence is the detonator, and they themselves manufacture the bomb. I won't sugarcoat it. What I'm telling you is Machiavellian. It's cruel, it's cold, and that's why it works. Because human nature responds faster to fear than to love, faster to doubt than to certainty. The one who shouts for attention becomes noise. The one who keeps silent and withdraws becomes obsession. You don't need to chase anyone. You need them to consume themselves chasing your shadow. And the only way to achieve this is by mastering the art of indifference. Indifference is a slow poison that turns desire into need, and need into dependence. So think about this. It's not you begging, it's them who start begging inside their own heads. Every silence of yours multiplies into 1,000 questions. Every absence turns into an unbearable echo. Human beings cannot stand feeling replaceable, and your distance is the dagger that awakens that fear. That's the move. You don't have to scream to make them seek you. You only need to disappear at the right moment and let the void do its work, because the void cannot be filled with anything. And when you create it, you become the center of their thoughts. True power isn't just in disappearing, but in what you do while you disappear. Because it's not about retreating and becoming empty yourself. No, it's about retreating to build, to grow in silence, so that when you return, your presence isn't just a memory, but an impact impossible to ignore. The mistake most people make is thinking that ignoring is simply cutting contact, stopping conversation, vanishing just like that. That's mediocre, that's weak. Because if you don't use that silence to transform yourself, the void you leave gets filled by someone else. Period. The key is to make every absence of yours weigh like lead. Every minute you're not there become an unbearable riddle. What is he doing? Who is he with? What new version of himself is being born? That is the real psychological game. It's not ignoring out of whim, it's ignoring while reinventing yourself. When someone feels they no longer have control over you, an ancestral mechanism is triggered: the desire for possession. No one tolerates losing what they took for granted. No one accepts that what they thought they had slips through their fingers like sand. That's where obsession begins to devour. And while they burn in questions, you advance in silence, build muscle in your mind, shield your spirit, rise higher. They think they're ignoring you, but you're the one pulling the strings. Because what happens when you reappear after a silence full of transformation? Exactly. Your mere return becomes an earthquake. Not because of what you say, but because your new version shatters the old image they had of you. It's as if you appeared as a stranger they can't stop staring at, someone who escapes their grasp again and again. Here comes the darker part. When you become a mystery, the other person begins to feel fear. Fear of being replaced. Fear of not knowing you anymore. Fear that your world keeps spinning without them. And that fear is the strongest chain you can place in someone's mind. Fear doesn't rest. Fear doesn't switch off. Fear turns every absence of yours into a wound that won't stop bleeding. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to explain yourself. Your greatest weapon is uncertainty. Because uncertainty has no shape. It can't be controlled. It can't be stopped. It's an invisible enemy that destroys from within, and you are the one who activates it with your calculated indifference. Think about it. Everything that is shown too much loses value. Everything offered without pause ends up despised. Why do you think the most expensive works of art in the world aren't hanging on every corner? Because scarcity is power. And you, when you decide to withdraw, when you choose not to always be available, you become scarcity, rarity, a luxury not everyone can have. And the curious thing is that the same person who once ignored you suddenly begins to seek you, because human beings can't stand losing what they thought was guaranteed. That's the paradox. When you were available, you were invisible. When you become inaccessible, you become indispensable. Don't forget, the human mind is addicted to what's forbidden, to what's distant, to what seems to slip away. And the harder they try to understand you and fail, the more trapped they become in the invisible net you've woven. What cannot be explained obsesses. What isn't said repeats in their head. What isn't shown becomes desire. You don't run after anyone, they run after you, without understanding how you sank so deeply into their mind. And that's what you wanted from the beginning. For them to look for you, to miss you, to torment themselves thinking about you while you keep moving forward in silence without looking back. Because that's the game, to become a mystery that is never solved. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because it's not enough to be a mystery to others. You have to learn to be a mystery even to yourself. What does this mean? That you cannot live predictably, not even for your own mind. Routine kills desire. Repetition kills magnetism. When you always act the same, others know beforehand how you'll react, and what is known with certainty no longer intrigues. That's why the first step in mastering others is mastering your own internal script, breaking it, surprising yourself, moving in directions no one expects, not even you. That unpredictability creates an aura no mirror can reflect. Think about how stories that captivate crowds work. They're not the ones that tell everything at once, but those that reveal fragments, hidden details, pieces that fit together little by little and always leave a gap that can't be completely filled. That's what you become when you decide not to be transparent. The mistake many make is to dump their whole life on the table, show their cards too soon, believing that absolute sincerity is the supreme value. But sincerity without mystery is boring. Naked truth burns out quickly. On the other hand, when you choose what to show and what to hide, you become a living stage where there's always a closed door, a missing key, an answer never fully given. And here lies the most delicious trap. People don't chase certainties, they chase the questions they can't answer. Nobody remembers a clear answer, but everyone remembers the doubt that never faded. That's your territory, that's where you play. Each silence of yours is an unfinished chapter. Each calculated gesture an enigma. Each distance you create a new dark hallway where they get lost without escape. They think they're looking for you because you matter to them. But the truth is crueler. They look for you because they've become prisoners of what they don't understand. But there's something deeper still. Absence only has power when it's backed by the presence of your inner strength. Ignoring someone without working on yourself is simple escape, cowardice in disguise. But ignoring while cultivating your mind, your discipline, your inner silence is building an invisible empire. Every time you don't respond, you're raising a wall. Every time you choose not to appear, you're carving out a new version of yourself that doesn't need to be seen to exist. And when you finally decide to step back into the light, the impact is brutal because no one expects the magnitude of the change forged in the shadows. Here lies the essence of the strategy. It's not just that they miss you, it's that when they think of you, it hurts not to have you. It's not just that they look for you, it's that when they look for you, they never find you exactly the same as before. Because that's the secret of psychological power. Every absence must be a portal, and every return, a version of you that makes them feel they've lost control forever. And the more they try to grasp you, the more the image slips between their fingers. And now that we've made it this far, before we continue, I want to present the following to you. Our book, The Formula of Awakening, is now available. Do you feel like there's something inside you that wants to awaken, but you don't know where to start? Then I invite you to transform your way of thinking, and with it, your way of living. Discover who you can become. Start today. The link to get the ebook is in the first pinned comment of this video. Grab your copy now at a great price. With that said, let's continue with the video. That's what makes someone unforgettable. Not closeness, not insistence, but the ability to become unattainable even while standing right in front of their eyes. Now tell me, isn't that the most dangerous way to exist? The real danger begins when you understand that you can not only control what others feel about you, but also what they think of themselves when you're not there. Because your absence doesn't just torment them with questions about you, it also confronts them with their own insecurities. When someone realizes you're no longer available, they start questioning their own worth. What did I do wrong? Why is he ignoring me? What does he have that I don't? And it's at that point that your silence stops being a simple void and becomes a distorted mirror where they see all their cracks. That's the most Machiavellian part. Your distance forces them to fight against demons they already had, but which your presence disguised. Here appears a brutal truth nobody admits. Everyone needs to feel indispensable. The human ego lives off the illusion of being central in others' lives. But when you choose to fade away, when you make it clear that you keep breathing without them, that illusion shatters into pieces. And what remains is the most primitive fear: to be irrelevant. That feeling is unbearable, and it drives people to act in ways you'd never imagine. They turn into desperate hunters, chasing what they once took for granted because absence is a constant reminder that they are not the center of anything. And while they consume themselves, you rise. Because true mastery isn't convincing someone that you're valuable, it's making them discover it themselves through the void. You don't beg, you don't explain, you don't justify, you simply exist on another plane, one they can't access whenever they please. That's the key: exclusivity. What is scarce becomes treasure. What is inaccessible becomes obsession. And best of all, you don't need to say a single word to achieve it. Silence says it all. Indifference burns it in, and absence multiplies it. But let me take you deeper still. It's not enough that they miss you. You must make sure they never feel secure with you. Power lies in the ebb and flow, in appearing like a shadow and vanishing before they can grasp you. Constant stability numbs. Constant mystery ignites. It's like a flame. If it always burns the same, people get used to it. If it flickers, if it threatens to go out, everyone rushes to protect it. That's the dynamic you must master. You are not a fixed lighthouse. You are a sudden lightning bolt that flashes and disappears, leaving everyone hoping to see you again. This way, little by little, you turn your absence into addiction. They won't know how to explain it. They won't be able to put it into words. They'll only feel that something is missing. And what's missing is you. Not because of what you give, but because of what you deny. Not because of what you show, but because of what you hide. Not because of what you say, but because of what you keep silent. That's the final paradox. Power doesn't belong to the one who offers the most, but to the one who knows how to withdraw at the exact moment, leaving behind a void impossible to fill. And that void, if you play it right, becomes the invisible chain with which you will dominate their thoughts forever. And this is where everything closes, but also where everything begins again. Because the real question isn't whether others will miss you. The real question is whether you're ready to sustain that power. Because yes, ignoring is a weapon, disappearing is a strategy, but the most important thing is what you do with the echo you leave behind. If you leave only emptiness, they'll end up forgetting you. If you leave intrigue, they'll remain trapped. If you leave a mark, you'll become a scar impossible to erase. That's the difference between being just another one or being the shadow that never fades in someone's mind. The end of this path is not simply that they look for you. It's that they never again feel complete without your presence. It's that your name pops into their thoughts at random moments, like a restless ghost. It's that every time they try to move on, they trip over the memory of you. That is true control. Not the moment you disappear, but the eternity in which you remain without being there. Because obsession isn't generated with noise, it's generated with silence, with empty spaces no one can fill. And now I want you to do something. If you've made it this far, I want you to leave this phrase in the comments. Silence rules more than 1,000 words. Write it, and let everyone who reads know that you're one of the few who truly understand the real game. And if you want more brutal truths like this, subscribe, because what's coming next will shake your mind even harder than today. I say goodbye, but not like everyone else. I don't say farewell. I don't say see you soon. I'm just going to disappear. And remember, the most terrifying thing is not that I leave. The most terrifying thing is that right now, as you close this video, you already start to miss me.